Welcome back, Heartland fans. What happens when the past you thought was buried walks back into your life? Not as a ghost, but flesh and blood. What if the heart you guarded so fiercely is suddenly faced with the one person who shattered it? In the much-anticipated return of Heartland, Ty Borden's reappearance is more than just a reunion. It's a reckoning, a quest for forgiveness, and a deeply felt apology aimed at the woman he never stopped loving. Amy stands before him, a whirlwind of shock and years of heartache swirling within her. Can she find it in herself to forgive the man who vanished, leaving only silence behind? His next words might mend everything or break it anew. The rhythm of Heartland Ranch carries on, deceptively calm under the morning sun. Horses nuzzle troughs, the familiar sounds a backdrop to Amy's routine as she moves through the stables. A practiced ease in her movements. Yet, beneath the surface calm, a current of unresolved sorrow flows. No one has truly forgotten Ty. His absence is a quiet weight they all carry, a space that time hasn't filled. Amy, most of all, has poured her soul into keeping things together. For Lindy, for the ranch, for the memory of what was, but the ghost of their lost love lingers. A constant ache, a question mark hanging over her life. Then, the familiar peace shatters. A figure emerges at the edge of the property. Indistinct at first, Amy, lost in thought, barely notices until the shape becomes clearer. Dusty, weary, carrying the air of someone who has journeyed far. It's Ty Borden, walking towards the home he left behind, his stride hesitant, but unmistakable. Amy's breath catches. The world tilts. Her hand finds the rough wood of the stable door for support. Is this real? A hallucination born of grief? As he steps fully into the light, older, marked by hardship, but undeniably Ty, she freezes. 1,000 emotions collide within her. Disbelief, anger, a flicker of impossible hope. Ty, she breathes, the name a fragile thing on her lips. Amy, he replies, his voice a gravelly echo of the past, familiar yet changed. The reunion is tentative, fragile. No joyful rush, no instant embrace, just a heavy pause, thick with unspoken years. Overwhelmed, Amy steps forward, a brief convulsive hug before pulling back, scared to trust what she sees. The years of pain, the nights spent wondering, the sheer effort of surviving his absence, it all floods back, threatening to drown her. Ty watches her, his own eyes mirroring a deep well of regret. "It's me, Amy," he says softly. "I'm really here. But being here isn't enough." Amy's voice, when it comes, is laced with the anguish of years. "Where were you, Ty? Why did you just disappear? How could you leave us? Leave Lindy?" The questions pour out, sharp and hurting. Ty looks pained, the weight of his choices heavy on him. He begins to explain, his voice low, strained. After the shooting, he wasn't found by vets, but by a remote, off-grid community, deep in the wilderness, people wary of outsiders. They saved him, nursed him through a long, difficult recovery. But the isolation was profound. He suffered complications, setbacks that kept him weak and unable to travel or easily contact the outside world for a long, long time. He wasn't whole, wasn't the man he used to be, and the thought of returning broken, a shadow of himself, kept him trapped in silence longer than he ever intended. He wanted to come back strong, for her, for Lindy. Amy listens, her heart a battleground of conflicting emotions. She wants to believe, to understand the impossible hardship he faced. But the chasm of years, the silence, the not knowing, how can she simply bridge that gap? Her gaze searches his, desperate for the truth, trying to reconcile this returned stranger with the husband she mourned. Just then, Lindy emerges, drawn by the unusual tension. She's older now, but still carries an innate childhood perception. She senses the shift, the gravity of the moment. Seeing the unfamiliar man with her mother, she approaches cautiously. Ty crouches down, his gaze softening, full of a father's love held captive for too long. "Hey, Lindy Bug, I'm your dad." The little girl stops, studies him. There's no fear, but a flicker of something deep, an echo of recognition. perhaps from the stories Amy told her. After a moment's hesitation, she doesn't run into his arms, but walks slowly forward and places a small hand tentatively on his knee. A connection, fragile but real, sparks in that simple touch. Amy watches, tears blurring her vision. The simple trusting bond forming before her eyes is both beautiful and heart-wrenching. Yet, as Lindy stays close to Ty, looking between him and her mother, Amy's own struggle continues. Forgiveness feels like a mountain she doesn't know how to climb. Can they rebuild what was so utterly broken? Is the love they shared strong enough to survive this? This single moment is the start of a new, uncertain chapter for all of them. A path towards healing, maybe forgiveness, definitely change. But the road is shadowed by doubt and the weight of lost time. As evening settles over Heartland, Amy knows their story isn't over. But whether this is a second chance or the painful final act remains unseen. Ty Borden's return sends tremors through the entire Heartland family structure. The fragile peace built over years of coping with his loss is instantly disrupted. The ranch, once a symbol of resilience, now feels charged with unresolved history. It's not just his physical presence, it's the avalanche of memories, regrets, and what-ifs that his return unleashed. Everyone had found their own way to live in a world without Ty. Seeing him alive standing on the porch feels like witnessing a miracle and a nightmare simultaneously. Jack, the family's steadfast anchor, feels the shift profoundly. His reaction isn't explosive, it's a deep internal tremor. True to form, Jack observes, his weathered face a mask of complex emotions. As Ty approaches, Jack studies him, as if trying to align this reality with the grief he's carried. There's a moment, a breath held before he moves. He doesn't demand explanation. Instead, he pulls Ty into a fierce, grounding hug, a wordless expression of shock, relief, and the enduring pain of presumed loss. "We thought you were gone," Jack murmurs, his voice thick, trembling slightly, betraying the stoicism. "Gone for good." Ty clings back, understanding the depth of that grief. "I know, Jack. I'm so sorry." That brief, choked exchange speaks volumes of shared history, fractured bonds, and the tentative dawn of hope. For Jack, Ty's return isn't just personal. It's about the mending of his family, a family he's fought so hard to hold together. The strong patriarch finds himself rocked, needing the support he so often provides. And Ty, no longer the lost boy but a man scarred by his journey, stands ready to be the son returning home. Lou's reaction is more immediate, a storm of conflicting emotions. News travels fast on the ranch, and she arrives breathless, disbelief warring with a surge of protective anger for Amy. She rushes towards Ty, throwing her arms around him in a tight embrace. "You're really here," she cries, relief mingling with accusation. But the joy is immediately tempered. "Why, Ty? Why didn't you try harder to reach us?" Amy went through hell. Her tears are for both the joy of his return and the pain of his absence. Ty accepts her words, the sting of truth in them. He offers no excuses, only the quiet acknowledgement of the hurt he caused. How could he explain the helplessness, the isolation, the fear of returning less than whole? Lou's anger, sharp as it is, stems from love, from the deep ties that bind them. She's wounded, yes, but the connection remains, a testament to their shared past. Georgie watches from a distance initially, the scene unfolding like something out of a dream. Ty was more than Amy's husband. He was a mentor, a steady presence in her formative years. Seeing him alive triggers a complex wave of emotion, relief, confusion, a touch of survivor's guilt for having moved forward. When she finally steps towards him, her hesitation is palpable. Ty sees her, opens his arms, and she collapses into them, sobbing quietly. "I missed you so much," she whispers against his shoulder. Ty holds her, a pang of guilt hitting him. He hadn't fully grasped the depth of his impact on her life. Her pain resonates with his own regret. "I'm so proud of you, Georgie," he manages, his voice rough. "Proud of the person you've become." In that moment, their dynamic shifts from loss to the potential for reconnection, proving that past bonds can still offer strength for the future. Tim, however, reacts with characteristic fire. His protective instincts for Amy, coupled with his own complicated history with Tai, ignite instantly. He confronts Tai in the barn later, away from the initial reunion, his face tight with anger. "What the hell, Bort?" he demands, his voice low and dangerous. Not grabbing him, but standing close, radiating fury. "You let her believe you were dead. You let us believe it." The confrontation is raw, charged with years of Tim's own guilt and frustration. His feeling of responsibility for the man he considered a son. Tai doesn't flinch. He doesn't fight back. He calmly, steadily explains the circumstances again. The remote location, the difficult recovery, the inability to make contact easily, the fear of returning. Tim listens this time, the initial rage slowly giving way to a deeper, more complex sorrow. He's carried the weight of Tai's death for years, the feeling that he should have somehow prevented it. Later, the anger spent, Tim finds Tai again. They sit in the quiet dusk, the tension eases. "I felt like I failed you," Tim admits gruffly, the confession costing him. "Like I should have protected you better." Tai meets his gaze, understanding the burden Tim carried. "It wasn't your fault, Tim. It wasn't anyone's. Things happen." He pauses, then adds quietly, "I'm just glad I found my way back." The admission breaks the remaining ice. Tim claps a heavy hand on Tai's shoulder, a gesture of gruff affection and acceptance. It's not forgiveness, not yet, but it's a start, an understanding that life is messy and unpredictable, but being present is what matters now. Amidst this emotional whirlwind, Amy remains the epicenter. Her joy is real but fragile, tangled with the deep scars of abandonment and the daunting task of navigating this new reality. The family senses her struggle, offering support, but knowing this is a path only she and Tai can walk together. Tai Borden is home, undeniably, irrevocably. Heartland is changed forever. The question that hangs in the air, heavy as the coming night, is whether home can ever truly feel the same again for any of them, especially for Amy and Tai. The path back to each other seems fraught with the ghosts of yesterday. The powerful emotions of the reunion settle into a quieter, more complex reality for Amy and Tai. The initial shockwaves have passed, leaving behind the difficult terrain of rebuilding trust and intimacy after years of separation and silence. Simply being back isn't enough. The chasm created by Tai's absence needs to be bridged, carefully, patiently. Amy carries the resilience forged in hardship. She raised Lindy, managed the ranch, kept the flame of Heartland burning, all while nursing a broken heart. She constructed a life on the foundations of loss, learning to stand on her own. Now, with Tai beside her again, the structure of that hard-won independence feels threatened, confusing. The love is still there, buried beneath layers of hurt, but unearthing it feels perilous. That evening, under a vast prairie sky dotted with stars, they find themselves alone on the porch swing. The silence isn't peaceful, it's thick with unspoken words, with the ghosts of years lived apart. Amy stares out at the familiar landscape, seeing it through new, uncertain eyes. The gentle breeze feels like a sigh. Tai sits beside her, the weight of his unspoken apology, his untold struggles almost palpable. He searches for the right way to begin, to explain the inexplicable. "I don't know where we go from here," Amy says finally, her voice barely a whisper, heavy with exhaustion and doubt. She looks at him, her eyes shadowed. "I learned to live without you, Tai. I had to." His name on her lips still feels strange, foreign yet intimately familiar. Tai absorbs her words, the quiet pain in them a physical blow. He'd anticipated this, yet the reality cuts deeper than he imagined. He understood she had to survive, to move forward, but hearing her voice it, acknowledging the separate life she built, underscores the chasm between them. "I know," he responds, his own voice husky with emotion. "And I don't expect miracles, Amy, but not a day went by, not one, that I didn't think of you, didn't love you." She turns fully towards him then, studying his face in the dim light, really looking for the first time since he returned. She sees the lines etched by hardship, the changes time and trauma have wrought. He's the man she loved, yet he's also a stranger shaped by experiences she can't comprehend. "Do you have any idea?" she asks, her voice trembling, tears finally spilling over. How many nights I waited. How many times Lindy asked about her daddy. What was I supposed to tell her? I told her you loved her. I told myself you'd come back someday. But Ty, I stopped believing it. Ty's own eyes well up. He reaches for her hand instinctively, but she pulls back slightly. Not out of rejection but uncertainty. The physical connection feels too soon, too complicated. You left us, she continues, her voice gaining a little strength, fueled by the remembered pain, and the not know. That was the worst part. Was it my fault? Did you stop loving me? I built walls, Ty. I had to, just to keep going. Her vulnerability hangs in the air between them, raw and heartbreaking. This is the moment of truth Ty knew must come. He listens without defense, letting her pain wash over him. He never intended this, never wanted to inflict such deep wounds. His own ordeal felt insurmountable, but he sees now the devastation his silence caused. Amy, I am so sorry, he says, the words wrenched from his soul. It's more than an apology. It's a plea for understanding, the first step on a long road back. I was lost, in so many ways, injured, isolated. I didn't know how to reach out, and I was afraid of coming back, less than whole. Amy is quiet for a long moment, absorbing his words, the raw honesty in his voice. She wipes her tears, her breathing shaky, letting go of the grief, the anger, the carefully constructed defenses feels impossible. Yet, watching him, seeing the genuine remorse in his eyes, a tiny crack appears in the wall around her heart. She doesn't need perfection. She never did. She just needed him. You don't have to be whole, Ty, she says softly, her voice still thick with tears but steadier now. You just have to be here, really here. He nods, understanding dawning in his eyes. He reaches for her hand again, slower this time, asking permission. She meets his touch, her fingers tentatively curling around. It's a small gesture, but the connection sends a tremor of warmth through the lingering chill. They both know the journey ahead is long and uncertain. Rebuilding trust, rediscovering intimacy, integrating Ty back into the life they forged without him. It won't happen overnight, but as they sit there, hands clasped under the starlight, a fragile sense of hope emerges. It's not the end of their pain, but perhaps it's the end of the isolation. They have found each other again, changed but present. They don't have a map for the future, but they've taken the first most difficult step towards honesty, towards forgiveness, towards the possibility of rebuilding a love that endured even the longest, darkest night. Ty's apology isn't a magic fix, but it opens the door, a chance for healing to finally begin, a journey requiring patience, empathy, and unwavering love. The past casts long shadows, but together maybe they can find their way.